Hello, good afternoon. How are you doing? Now that you're with us, why don't I tell you a bit about a conflict that happened in a little country called Vietnam, called the Vietnam War. Now, before I tell you about this conflict, why don't I give you a little information about the country itself? Now, Vietnam is about the size of Germany, and it has a climate that ranges from lush rainforests to arid highlands. Now, Vietnam remained under Chinese control until 900 AD, and then it won independence. And under a series of dynasties, it reigned until the late 1800s. Now, those dynasties reached a zenith at 1500. Now, in the late 1800s, the French began a series of conquests, beginning in 1859, ending in 1885. By 1885, the French had launched a very lucrative economic policy based on their plantations in Vietnam. Because of that, they denied the many requests for freedoms by various Vietnamese leaders. Now, the culmination of all of this tension came in the French Indochina War, in which Ho Chi Minh, the leader of the freedom fighters, decided to fight for independence. Now, the leader of the capitalist forces, Bao Dai, was under French protection and so wanted to remain in power. The end of the French Indochina War was left with Vietnam in half, split between Ho Chi Minh and Bao Dai. That is where I leave you now. Goodbye.
Excuse me?
天氣好好
Who
啊！
are you? What is... Oh!
真你啊！
You must be talking about the
我哋爹打
Vietnam
我
War.
㗎
You must be talking about the Vietnam War. Well, you see, there were a lot of disputes over the Vietnam War. One of the main things was North Vietnam trying to take over South Vietnam. And the Viet Cong who were in South Vietnam were all for this. You see, North Vietnam was communist. And when this all went down, North Vietnam started supplying arms weapons to the Viet Cong in South Vietnam through Cambodia. So America, in defense to save innocent lives in South Vietnam, bombed Cambodia. This caused a lot of conflicts. The Vietnamese didn't like this. The American public didn't like it either. And it started a huge dispute all over the world.
This is Susie Nguyen, reminiscing on the ghosts of her past and the Vietnam War.
The Vietnam War ruined my country and our people and our land. At the end of it, the North took over the South. 2 million died and thousands were wounded. Civilians were sent to re-education camps to learn in communist ways. My brother was sent there. The industries were nationalized and the businesses all controlled, so our people had no rights. After this, people were so mad that 1.5 million of us left to other countries. After we left, we heard about our land and how ruined it was. The bombing ruined all the crops and the herbicides killed all of our environment. The Vietnam War was terrible and it ruined our country.
Hello. Oh, you're here? Caught me at a good time. Just finished working out. So, Vietnam War. Military. Yeah. Fought. Pretty rough stuff. We had to fight against the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese at the same time. Viet Cong, they fought with a guerrilla warfare, jumping in and out of trees, messing with us, attacking at night, whereas the North Vietnamese fought us head on, straight ahead. We could deal with them better. Now the Viet Cong, they may have had better tactics, but they weren't that great on the weaponry. Standard weapons for the Viet Cong, AK-47, some hand grenades maybe, anti-personnel mines. Mostly they just used the advantage of the force that they knew to fight us. North Vietnamese, however, were supplied by the Russians and other communist states that wanted to get rid of the US. We were beasts. we had M1 carbines. We had any big knife you could imagine. We got fighter jets, we had tanks, we had anything that you imagine, we had. That's why USA all the way.
The Vietnam War did not have any specific beginning, but the history of the dispute started when Japan occupied French Indochina, and when they surrendered at Pearl Harbor, many leaders around the world were scrambling to occupy Indochina. And after Stalin died, the Soviet Union and China relationship started to deteriorate. And Mao Zedong criticized the Soviet Union's interpretation of Marxism-Leninism. The Sino-Soviet split was a big part in the beginning of the Vietnam War. Vietnamese communists drifted towards the Soviet Union, and this made a big divide where the Soviet Union and China were supplying arms to North Vietnam, and the US was supplying arms to South Vietnam. The rise of communism. After 30 years in exile, communist Ho Chi Minh returns to Vietnam and starts a nationalist organization called Viet Minh. After a large famine in Hanoi, there was political unrest. The peasants revolted against the Japanese, and Ho Chi Minh successfully spread his Viet Minh movement. The Allies included the United States, Britain, and the Soviet Union. They divided Vietnam in half at the 16th parallel. Chinese nationalists disarmed the Japanese in the north, while the British disarmed the south. In 1945, the Japanese surrendered. Ho Chi Minh occupied Hanoi and set up a provisional government. Ho Chi Minh then proclaimed the independence of Vietnam. He declared himself president of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam, but he was ignored by President Truman. Lieutenant Colonel Peter Dewey, an American, was accidentally killed by Viet Minh guerrilla, and Mao Zedong's communist forces won the Chinese Civil War. The People's Republic of China, Soviet Union, US, and Britain finally recognized Ho Chi Minh's Democratic Republic of Vietnam in 1950.